All right, let us bring in CBS News Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett joining me now from the North Lawn. So, Major, let us begin with that response from the president yesterday about his son's meeting with the Russian lawyer. He called it standard, and he said that many people would have taken a meeting like that. He said, you know, politics is not always pretty. What do you make of that response?
Well, let's not put it in what I make of it, or let's say what a Democrat might make of it on Capitol Hill, or what a Republican defender might make of it. Let's try to see if we can find someone who the president might well respect his judgment. Christopher Wray, the president's own nominee to be the next FBI director. He did not address this meeting specifically in his confirmation hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee, but he was asked questions clearly relevant to the overall atmospherics of it. And he said any American approached by the Russian government or any foreign entity with potentially damaging information about anyone in any campaign in America ought to contact the FBI directly first before doing anything else. The FBI, Christopher Wray, the president's nominee to lead the FBI, said would want to know about that first and foremost, because it might suggest an effort of a foreign entity to interfere in an American political campaign. Christopher Wray was also asked about the entire Russia investigation, which the president, we should remind ourselves, repeatedly calls a witch hunt. Christopher Wray said it's not a witch hunt, and there are legitimate questions that need to be asked and answered. So let's take it away from politics, let's take it away from journalism, let's just put it in the mouth and in the arena of the person the president has chosen to lead the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Someone he said will be a terrific leader for that agency after he fired the previous FBI director, James Comey, over, in the president's words, the Russia investigation, at least in part. So I think for the country at large, looking at Christopher Wray's testimony about these related, though not entirely specific questions about Donald Trump Jr.'s meeting with the Russian lawyer and what was supposed to occur at that meeting, what was promised, is a way to understand the FBI perspective, the legal perspective, and the potentially criminal perspective on that meeting.
Indeed, and Christopher Wray made it very clear that should he become the FBI director, he would remain independent and would not be easily influenced. We know that two Senate committees want to hear more information from the president's son about this meeting. It's one thing to talk to lawmakers. It is something entirely different to testify in front of them under oath. Can we expect, do you think, to see the son testify?
So, lawyers representing Donald Trump Jr. have said he's willing to cooperate. That can be an expansive or somewhat limited in its definition. That all depends on how witnesses are either asked for information by congressional committees or subpoenaed for that information. Usually they're first asked, and if they comply, a subpoena is not necessary. If they don't comply in full with the original ask, sometimes a subpoena, which has to be approved by the committee itself, is then issued. The one thing that's important to understand about any sworn testimony before Congress, if anything about that sworn testimony is incorrect and proven to be incorrect after the fact, you can be subject to a charge of perjury. So it's a very serious matter to be called before any congressional committee and to testify. A long way to go for that, but it is clear the Senate Intelligence Committee for sure wants all related documents from Donald Trump Jr., wants his testimony about what the meeting was, how it came about, and what transpired, and to find out who else attended that meeting. We know from the emails leading up to that meeting it was going to be two Russians, the attorney and then somebody else, unnamed. We don't know who that other person is, but we know at least two Russians were, or people connected to Russia, were to be in that meeting with Don Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, and the then campaign chairman, Paul Manafort.
So speaking of Jared Kushner, the reason we even know about this meeting and the email chain is because he updated his security clearance form and included this meeting. He had not included it before. In fact, CBS News is confirming what the New York Times is reporting, which is that he has updated his security clearance form 3 times, going from having no names on that form to about 100 names. How problematic is this for the president's son-in-law, considering out of all the names that we've been talking about right now, he's the only one working in the White House.
Right. Problematic in one political sense, to be sure. Some Democrats on Capitol Hill have said this is evidence from Jared Kushner to evade detection of something that might disqualify him from a security clearance, and therefore that security clearance should be revoked. Some Democrats have gone so far as to say he should resign or be fired. There is no feeling here at the White House from people I've spoken with that that's even being considered. But that's some of the political ramifications, at least in the conversation around these revelations, that security clearance paperwork updated not once, not twice, but 3 times. Here's the explanation that comes from attorneys representing Kushner. The first one was sent prematurely. I don't know how that happens. An SF-86 is a highly formalized security clearance document. It's not a routine piece of information. It's very thorough, and you are required as an applicant to fill it out truthfully and completely the first time around. Be that as it may, the explanation is it was sent prematurely. Contained no names of any foreign nationals Kushner met during the transition. Then the amended form contained the names of, let's say, for example, the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak, and other foreign ministers and others representing other countries during the transition who wanted to have meetings with people close to President-elect Trump. Why was it revised a 3rd time? It was revised a 3rd time to include mention of this now infamous June 16th meeting at Trump Tower that Jared Kushner attended along with Paul Manafort, organized by Donald Trump Jr. to meet this Russian lawyer promising compromising or potentially damaging information on Hillary Clinton. What we don't know, and I've asked this morning, is did that revision, that 3rd update, also include the name of another Russian or 2 who also attended that meeting? I don't know that. We're trying to find that out. But updating your security clearance paperwork 3 times is unusual. And in one sense, it does fit a pattern of people either involved in the campaign, the transition, or the administration who have had to re-remember something that they forgot. And in every instance, what they've re-remembered is meetings with Russians.
Major Garrett at the White House. The more information revealed, the more questions we have. Thank you so much, Major.
Sure.